Hey, welcome to the Rustic Compass. I'm Will Finch. I'm your host. And yet again, we're back for another week's update of kind of what's going on in life, do some talks, and, just shoot the shit. So, as I'm traveling out west and, getting all that thing going, and, I'm here in the desert, and there's just one thing that I keep trying to keep doing and chasing dreams, and it's funny that, today's Martin Luther King Day. He had a dream too. Fortunately, his was cut short. Bless, that whole thing. Shouldn't have happened. But anyway, people, the more and more I chase my dreams and the more I want to do what I want to do, the more backlash I get. And, I don't think a lot of people understand that kind of stuff that comes with that. For the longest time, I've kind of just done my own thing. Sorry, my phone went off. Longest time, I always kind of did my own thing, and whether people agree with it or not, I don't really care. They always have something to say, run their mouth, all that good stuff. That's just life stuff that we have to deal with, and quite honestly, most of it's uncalled for. But some of you may know, some of you may not. The last, I don't know, year, 2, 3 years, maybe actually probably longer, I've been dealing with a lot of harassment, a lot of hacking, a lot of stuff to make me look and seem crazy, which is funny because I'm absolutely not. But it's the smear campaign thing that somebody's devised to test me and put me through all these trials and stuff. And for whatever the reason is, I really don't know what it is. But at some point, these people got to understand that they too are being watched, and they're being monitored, and quite honestly, they're being recorded too. So, at some point, they got to realize, like, it's kind of pointless. So, smear me all you want. Cool. I'm still going to continue doing what I'm going to do. And, I'm going to go live my life the way I feel like I want to live it. Because I ain't hurt nobody. I'm not hurting myself. I've changed my life completely around. But I get all these. I'll put a post up or something on TikTok or Facebook, and the trolls or whatever will get on there and be like, "Oh, nobody asked you." I didn't care if anyone asked me, to be honest. But you know what? I'm positive I'm not the only one dealing with this kind of stuff. So, if you guys are dealing with this kind of stuff, I want to know how you guys are dealing with it, and how do you go about overcoming these types of things. Because I do my best not to get mad about it or even acknowledge it the best I can. And, it's been going on so long that sometimes it's just like, man, when do you guys just not get the point? Like, you guys ain't going to fucking win. It's just that simple. You can't control me. Good luck. Like, I'm going to say what I got to say, and, it is what it is at this point. So, but, I kill people with kindness, and it's not even an act. It's just, I really just generally just a kind person, which obviously creates a lot of attraction for, manipulative people. And most definitely I've been in manipulative relationships and narcissistic stuff and that kind of stuff. And I had to overcome that, which it almost killed me at one point. But you know what? I overcome all that, and I'm stronger than ever now. But the stuff just keeps going on, and people think that they're hiding behind stuff. And I hope everyone understands, like, everything is tracked and monitored. So even your phones, you wonder why you get a random ad on your phone or something. It's because you were talking about it, and they got ad trackers and all these cookies and all kinds of different stuff. If you don't know a bunch of, the tech stuff and all that good stuff, right? So everything you do is being monitored or watched. It doesn't matter who you are. And I'll make that clear. It doesn't matter who you are. It's being tracked and monitored, just how society is. So, we build things typically for good, I think. But at the same time, there's also that counterbalance to it. However much good it can do, does equally as much harm. And that's the way I kind of look at everything in life. And it's just one of those things, overcoming all these things. How do you navigate these things, your day to day basis, and it can be tough. It's a lot of stress. It's stressful. Currently, all my stuff right now is getting shut down. I try to go live stream. Somebody turns off my camera, and I know my camera and my connection's working 100%. So it's like, come on, man. Like, the stuff's getting annoying. Cool. You guys want control, power? Good luck. Those who usually desire it don't typically get it. So good luck with that. Um, and if you do happen to manage it, you're probably not going to last long, because those types of people typically get called out. And you know what? You probably deserve whatever you get. Don't do anything malicious, man. It's that simple. Um, do it for the right reasons. If you do things for shady reasons, you're probably going to get just a shady result, to be honest. Um, I'm trying to build my studio, my photography, my podcast, my DJ radio show. I'm doing a lot of things, and that probably just one person probably shouldn't be doing, to maintain some kind of mental health type thing. But I'm also funding it myself, and I should be getting business loans or grants, or different funding or crowdsourcing or whatever the case is. But you know what? I'm going to show you guys that you can do it by yourself. It takes a heck of a lot of work, but you know what? There's also smarter ways to do it and escalate, or not escalate, but scale and all this other stuff. But somebody clearly is trying to manipulate my outcome to meet their needs or whatever it is. At least that's how I feel. And just so you know, if you guys ever feel a certain way, your emotions and stuff are valid. But also don't act just on emotions, because you got to have some kind of logic in there to have some kind of firm foundation and everything. But yeah, man, this week's episode, I just want to get a lot of things off my chest, and kind of stuff that I'm still going through, that I'm dealing with, that seem way absurd, and it does. But these are real life things that are happening to me. I get followed all the time, for whatever reason. Cool. Follow me, watch me. You're going to live a very boring life if you do that. But, I do like going out on adventures, doing photography, and doing my music and stuff. My music keeps me mentally grounded, and I like sharing that with the world. So for anyone that is trying to hate and stop that, well, you're just ridiculous, to be honest. Go get a life or something. Your life obviously sucks that you have to put other people down. Whether you're doing it for a reason or not, I don't care what the reason is. It's just a shitty behavior, and you probably need to fix it. And if you don't want to fix it, I'm sure somebody in life is going to fix it for you. But you know what? You just ain't come across that person yet. So, everyone deals with things, and the big thing is how do we overcome these things, and how do we do how do we overcome them in, like, I don't want to necessarily say the proper way, but the more correct way, or the more accepted way, I should say. And sometimes not always the accepted way is the best way. But that'd probably be a whole nother episode thing. But I'm dealing with all kinds of stuff. I've dealt with people sabotaging my stuff, from friends and family to strangers to everybody. All played a part in all this. And you know what? I don't care what you were all trying to teach me. It's ridiculous, and it needs to stop, to be honest. But you know what? It also just shows your character and your lack of character, really. When you engage in these types of things, whether someone asked you to do it, or you were just doing it because you're jealous or you envy somebody else's stuff. Dude, I don't have a lot of things, but what I do is I invest in my own stuff, and I create my own little world, as I think most of us do. And a lot of times I think, we get on social media and we think, oh, all these people are living lavish lives and all crazy stuff. But sometimes you just don't know what they're actually going through, And most of the time that's by design. But, take it with a grain of salt. Not everybody's having the grandest time. Maybe they are on camera, but it's also an act and an entertainment tool. And it's fun to do, make these videos and go do stupid stuff. All that stuff's fun. But as a user and person that ingests all this media and stuff like that, you got to really watch out and be careful what you're ingesting, because don't take it for truth. Do your research and due diligence on things, because a lot of times, especially with AI is getting so good, AI can make some really cool things, and it's a really cool tool um, that I think is kind of helpful. But at the same time, like, I see a lot of these people out there doing these trends and stuff like that, and I'm just like, man, you guys got to really watch out, man, because some of that stuff is just, you're gonna come across the wrong person one of these days, and they're gonna really check you, and your video is gonna not be worth it, I promise. Because there are some people out there that really will put you in your spot and check you. If you haven't ever come across those types of people, it's not all just fun and games to some people. You really got to kind of learn to read those dynamics and the environment that you're in. Sure, if you're creating your whole scene and creating the scripts and stuff, by all means, but to some of the younger crowd out there, man, just know that some of this stuff is scripted, and I'm not necessarily going off a script at all. I'm just going off the top of my head of my feelings and what I'm going through, and how I deal with that kind of stuff. you know, a lot of time I spend a lot of my time by myself. Um, I sit in here, I work on music, I work on DJing, I work on photography and stuff, and I'm trying to get gigs, but literally somebody has been monitoring my stuff and sabotaging that kind of stuff. So just be aware that sometimes when things go wrong in your own life, it's actually sometimes not you, and you're not crazy, and things are just set up to be done a certain way, and people are manipulating the outcomes of things. So when you're presented some options sometimes in life, just know there's always more options. um, you know it doesn't have to be, oh, you got this option A, B, and C. No, there's more options than that. That's just what someone's you know molding you to, or maybe sometimes those are the only options, but there's usually a ton more options than that. But just be careful when people present you options and things like that. And there's just a lot of different things going on out there that people are trying to always look out for their best interest and not yours. That's for sure. So the only person that you need to worry about is your own stuff. And it's just one of those things that I've had to learn over time. And I've always helped out people, and I've always had the best interest of whenever I give advice and stuff. So it's really hard for me to relate to that kind of like just shady dealings and just dumbass shit, really. And I probably can't say that, but I just did, and I'm not cutting it out. So, but all these things, I got a lot going on in my mind. I'm a very creative person, and I'm trying to do all this good and all this other stuff, but all this attracting currently is bad. And I just don't have time for that nonsense, really. So if that kind of energy keeps attracting to you, just know that sometimes it happens, and it's part of the game, right? So just know you got to learn how to deal with these kind of things. Don't. My best advice is try not to react, because they just try to get a rise out of you, and they try to because once you get angry, you're easily manipulated. I don't care if you think you are or not, you are 100%. Just be aware of all these types of things. You really got to bring all your reactions that would normally, like, if something happens, you're going to naturally react to something. Well, that reaction was a learned response to it, right? That, like, your body would naturally respond to it. And I don't know all the scientific terms and all this other stuff. I don't need to, really. But just know that you can change all that by training your subconscious, right? You bring your subconscious stuff up to the conscious, and that way you're aware of everything. And that's how you become more, I don't know how you want to say that, but like, I guess, more aware for yourself and of your surroundings, and your intuition really just kicks on. And once you bring the why things are happening, or the way you act, or the way you do things, once you understand what fuels that, and you're able to change and manipulate that, um, for your own good and stuff in your life, like when everything starts falling apart for me, right, I tend to kind of go off into my own secluded little cave. And it's not because of depression or nothing. It's just I have to sit there and I take my thoughts and I have to gather everything and look at everything. And it's a whole process that I do personally. Um, because sometimes you got to take yourself out of the environment to really get a picture of the environment. And, it's just a lot of different things like that that you got to figure out and learn. I've been in lots of different environments in my life. Growing up I grew up in a trailer park, kind of a feral kid, really. Definitely to today's standards. But, I was in the Army, motorcycle clubs. I rode motorcycles. I still love riding motorcycles, still doing my thing. Now I'm just focusing more on myself at this point, trying to get my businesses up and going and all this other kind of stuff. So I've worn lots of different hats and throughout life, and I've had lots of different experiences with, you know, all walks of life, really. Good or bad, it doesn't really matter. Just it is what it is. It's just life, really. But I've encountered all kinds of different people, and I've learned from all kinds of different people what to do and what not to do. Also, just how you interpret the environment that you're in. But you know, you don't want to pick up the environment and incorporate all of it into your life. The idea is just to pick and choose bits and pieces, use your discernment, and kind of filter some of that stuff. But in order to filter that kind of stuff, you have to know your own identity, right? And that's where that internal core of everything comes in play, and learning, well, about you and how you click and what makes you click and what you want in life versus what you're being. Sometimes you're being just guided and molded in life, and sometimes it's not a bad thing, sometimes it is a bad thing. But you got to, like I say, it's that discernment piece that you got to learn, and it's a skill that you have to actively work on. But it's just those things, you got to be aware of everything. And my main thing for today is just be conscious of even how you talk, act, and walk, and everything, right? And all that kind of stuff will make everything else apparent in life, and kind of align you with things. But you know, like I said, I've been dealing with a lot of different things and a lot of nonsenses, and quite personally, I'm just a little bit fed up with everything. At my point, and yeah, I know I'm not. I may seem pretty level-headed and everything right now, but I assure you, there's a fire there that's burning strong. But you know what? I'm gonna keep going, and currently all my subscriptions and stuff, it's really hard times at the moment. And I know people don't typically talk about those, but um, I got subscriptions and stuff shutting off, so I'm having to rework some of my stuff and figuring things out and reaching out, trying to get gigs and doing some work and everything, and get sponsored or whatever. Do whatever I can to get a dollar or whatever here and there, but at the same time maintaining my value. Not every dollar is worth it. So even if I'm broke or whatever the case, I still turn stuff down because I don't feel like it's right for me. Um, Once you get to that point, it's you kind of free yourself from some shackles, really. Because if, like, yeah, all my stuff's being shut down, and it's kind of freaking me out, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I can't get 2 steps forward without taking 25 backwards, right? But the goal in this whole thing and teaching lesson here would be to not overreact. And I overreact sometimes, but I have to get away from it, detach myself from the case or whatever's going on, and just like get a better view of it, detach, go do something else, and then it provides some clarity. But I got all these things going wrong, and I could just be like, oh, everything's going down, but I got to keep moving forward somehow. Um, so it's like one of those things, you know. You just got to figure these things out, learn them, and your bread and butter is when everything's going wrong. How are you actually reacting and uh, responding in those situations, right? Because sure, I was trained in the military, firefights, and even working on the strikers, the tanks, the Humvees, all that good stuff, right? When all these things break and everything, how do we react when that stuff happens? We know it's going to happen at some point, but you train for when it happens. So when it does happen, you instantly react in a trained manner. So you're trained and guided. So the same thing with life stuff, right? All this stuff's falling apart on me. It's not comforting by no means, but I know that if I keep acting and I keep moving forward and I keep doing good things, maybe I do have to shift some things here, left or right, and but at the same time, just understand that the fact that you're choosing to continue and move forward and not just shut down and all these other things, that's a huge step for some people, and I know it is for me because I might have shut down many years ago and just stopped doing everything. But you know what? I'm choosing to just continue. I still go to the gym every day, and I'm pretty sure even that's fixing to get shut off here pretty soon. But you know what? I can always do push-ups and sit-ups on my floor, or go out run on the street or something. I'm not limited to just one thing. You got to be open your mind to multiple experiences, or I could go on a hike or something. But it's just one of those things. You got to look at all this stuff, and yeah, all this bad stuff maybe be happening to me or happening for me, however you want to look at it, right? It's can you calmly manage that amongst all that chaos? And I'm going to leave that with you guys today, and I want you guys to think about that and get back with me. And I do want to know what you guys' thoughts and everything on that is. So, yeah, today's kind of short, sweet, and to the point, and dealing with a lot of things, but I'm still moving forward, and the best I can. Doesn't matter how many times somebody tries to cripple me, and sometimes that is also self-sabotage too. But we're made to be thought. But you know what? You just got to keep moving forward, and I hope everybody else is moving forward with your weeks and your days and all this good stuff, and good things are coming to you and working for you in your favor. And I wish everyone a blessed week, and hope everyone's having a good one. And thanks for joining me and watching my show. And yeah, man, you guys have a good one. Until next time.